right, I think we're on. All right, today's episode is brought to you by Gallotech, Rhino Metals, Blackwater Ammunition, and Galco Holsters. If you haven't checked out Galco Holsters, they make a badass fanny pack now that, you know, you can put a pistol in, you can put some snacks in it, you can put everything in it. I have some very, very serious people doing deep research into the product, so I'm excited about that. Today's guest, though, is an absolute badass. She's way tougher than me. In fact, she might kick the shit out of me later just for fun. She's, you know, someone that I admire. She's got a deep, deep story that we're going to get into. We got the one and only Claudia Gadelha. What's going on?
Hey.
So, this is exciting because you haven't really done one of these, and you're like a first timer. Make sure you're talking to the mic. Don't scoot too far away. You haven't done one of these really in the past, and you have an amazing story. How did you get to this point in the UFC, and where did this all come from? How did it originate? Tell me about the beginning.
Yeah, so that's true. I've been running from podcasts for the past 2 years, but I feel like it's important to do. You know, I feel like a lot of people want to know what brought me here.
Your story.
You know, and I'm excited to do this. So I grew up in a little village in the northeast of Brazil, closer to the Amazon. You know,
Keep talking. I'm gonna fix it. Keep going.
Thank you. So in Brazil, things really happens down south, in Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo. You know, and I'm from all the way across the country. You know, we're talking about a third world country, but also a little village in the northeast, closer to the jungle area where nothing happens. And I was born with that free spirit. I wanted to do crazy things and nice things. I was very energetic growing up. And so I am the youngest daughter of a family of 3. So I have 2 other sisters that are older than me. And my mom, she was raised in a very traditional family. Her father committed suicide when she was very young. And she was raised by her mother and 3 other brothers, you know. And they tried to raise my mom in a way that women couldn't do anything, right? My mom, the first time she ever got a haircut was when she was 18 years old. She couldn't do nothing, not even cut her own hair. Women was supposed to have long hair. So my mom has pictures of herself in 18 years old with her hair all the way to her knees because she couldn't cut her hair. So that's the way she tried to raise me, you know. And my sisters, they accepted the way my mom tried to raise them, but I didn't. I was the bad kid that wanted to do different things. And I never accepted that. I was no, I don't wanna be normal for what normal was for them, you know. And so I left my parents' house in a very young age. I was 15 years old when I moved to another town. And I used to fight in the street, you know. I used to beat all the boys in the street. I was undefeated by beating the boys in school, in the street. And I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 14 years old. When I was 15, I moved to another city, and my dad helped me out. He helped me to move to this other town because so my mom was the tough side of the family, and my dad was that good guy. You know, he always loved my mom and loved us, and he always told me doesn't matter what you want to be in life, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. And I feel that's how I am now. You know, I have that tough side that I got it from my mom, and that good side, you know, good heart and a good person that comes from my dad. And so my dad helped me to move to this other town, close to where I'm from. And I lived there for 3 years until I decided to move to Rio de Janeiro because I knew I wanted big things in life. I wanted to do great things in life, and where I'm from, there's no opportunities. So I left Natal when I was 18, had no money. I had nothing but a gi and a backpack and a lot of drive, a lot of motivation, you know. So I moved to Rio de Janeiro by myself, lived in the favelas. You know, when I moved to Rio de Janeiro, it was very tough because there was no women fighting MMA. You know, there was a couple girls training jiu-jitsu, and that's what I used to do. But I ended up in Novo União training with guys like Jose Aldo, Renan Barral, you know, and those guys, they were transitioning from jiu-jitsu to MMA. And they were doing very good in jiu-jitsu, but there was no money in jiu-jitsu, you know, and Aldo wasn't...
There still might not be.
True. But there was not... there was no money in jiu-jitsu, and all those guys were fighting MMA. You know, Aldo wasn't even in the UFC yet when I got there. You know, like he's a couple of years older than me. But I remember like, when I was there for like 2 years, he made it to WC, and then he became the WC champion, and then the UFC brought his weight division to the UFC. That's where everything blew up. But think about it, like... We're talking about 15 years ago. You know, there was no girls in the UFC. There was no girls fighting MMA. So I wanted really to be a jiu-jitsu competitor, but I wanted to be successful in life as well. And I knew there was no money in jiu-jitsu. So it was like, okay, so let me try this MMA thing. I'm already undefeated on the street, in the street fights.
Yeah.
Let me try that MMA thing. And so I was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and they got me an opponent for like 8 weeks later. So I started training MMA today, and I had a fight two months later, right? And I was going to fight this girl that was a jiu-jitsu black belt and a really good competitor. And I was like, fuck, okay, I got 2 months to train. I don't know nothing about boxing, Muay Thai. Wrestling, I just know jiu-jitsu. And the girl, it's a great jiu-jitsu competitor. But let's do this, you know. So I trained boxing for 2 months, you know, and a little wrestling for 2 months. And I went there, and I beat the girl in 17 seconds. I submitted the girl in 17 seconds. So it was like, oh, shit, I like this.
Right.
You know, but... Like I said, you know, we're talking about 15 years ago. There was no women in MMA. There was no girls fighting MMA. And I'm a pioneer in the sport, you know. Like, I went through the phase of not having opponents or of fighting other weight divisions, you know. I fought at 135, 125, you know, until I finally made it to Invicta after 11 fights. And I got to fight in my weight division,
right?
You know. So it was, like, very tough, you know, like moving from town to town by myself, trying to make a living and also trying to succeed in life and trying to grow as a person and as an athlete, but by myself in a third world country, you know.
It's crazy. I got to imagine in some of those early fights in the street, some of those guys must have enjoyed those beatings. They probably had a good time. But it's, you know, it's amazing, and we hear these stories, you know, all the time about people coming from nothing and coming up. But to be doing it as a female at that age, at that stage of the game, and you know, it just proves that there's no blueprint, right? There's no like path that's cleared out. People always think like, you know, the path was laced in rose petals and like you knew exactly what to do. You're just making it up as you went along.
Exactly. I didn't know what to do. And that's the thing too, like, think about it. I was the only girl in the middle of 50 guys. They like all hungry people trying to make a living as well. And they didn't want to help me out. I was like, how am I going to learn how to fight that thing if nobody wants to help me out, you know? Like, I remember being on the side of the mats watching because nobody wanted to train with me or help me out. So I had to find a way to get in the group and be accepted first, because like they didn't believe women's MMA was gonna be a thing. You know, like I remember when I made it to Invicta, my own coach told me, "Oh, that thing is not gonna last long." You know, like, and a lot of journalists from Brazil were telling me the same thing, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm here believing in something, dreaming of something, but like everybody else that it's supposed to be supporting me is telling me the thing it's not gonna work. But I that's what I did my entire life. I kept pushing.
Yeah, it's there's never a perfect plan. It's funny, it's a small world because one of my good friends, Ruben Alvarez, he's a black belt under Tom DeBlas. He refereed one of your early jiu-jitsu matches. He was like, I refed one of her matches 1,000 years ago, and I was like, small world, right?
Yeah.
But he's one of my really good friends, and when he heard I was, you were coming on, he was like, I refereed one of her matches way back when, probably in Florida or somewhere. But it's jiu-jitsu is interesting because it has a way of taking you in, even though there's no money in it. Everybody kind of takes you in because they know that there's not, unless you own a few gyms, it's very hard to make a living in jiu-jitsu. And you're smart because you learned that very early on. It's like, I have to go this path. So, why fighting, though? Of all the things to choose, why was it fighting?
It's so fun, though. It's so fun. So when you think about how I grew up and the things I wanted to do growing up, I was a very energetic kid, and I wanted to go play outside and play with the boys, and I wanted to play sports in school. I always wanted to do things crazy things, nice things, things that I always fed my soul, right? And when I started training jiu-jitsu was by the time I had a lot of problems with my mom and my sisters, they never accepted the way I was because I was supposed to be traditional, so they never accepted the way I was. They tried to bully me growing up, and I was like, I'm gonna do some cool shit. I'm gonna that's what I used to think. I was like, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna do some cool shit. I'm gonna prove everybody wrong. I'm gonna prove you guys that I am a good person, and I just wanted to do different things. It doesn't mean I'm crazy. It's just different, And fighting always gave me that feeling, the adrenaline I was looking for.
They believe you now.
They do, and this is the thing I'm most proud in my life. I had to get out of my parents' house in a very young age. I had to get out of the town where I'm from. I have to get out of my state and go away for a long time to be able to go back one day. And I remember to be able to get close to my family again, I had to forgive myself, to my mother and my sisters. I had to ask them to forgive me for what I did, which wasn't wrong, but it was the only way that I could get close to them again, to show them there was another way of thinking and living life.
Well, yeah, going down that path, the coaches and I know it, and now it's a very selfish path. In the beginning, anytime you do something, whether it's bodybuilding, fighting, anything that's going to put you singularly in a ring or in a situation, you have to be a little selfish. You have to be willing to be selfish. And, it's not that you necessarily have to apologize, but you have to come to terms with that you're going to live that type of life. It's a very solitary life because the amount of training that goes into it and the amount of effort that goes into it and the amount of energy, and nobody in their right mind is going to ever understand that to the fullest extent the way that you do, and for years and years and years, people have been trying to dissect and figure out the secret formula of what makes people successful, right? Or what makes them good. And most of the time when you look at those people, they're either divorced multiple times or they've been through, this or I always say the same thing. To get ahead, you're going to leave people behind. Plain and simple. To get ahead, you're going to leave people behind. And that's just the way that it is. And it's a sad, very, contrarian way to look at things, but that's just the real reality of it. When you want to get ahead, there's a time and a place for mom and dad and the family and all those things, but the reality is sometimes you have to put those things down to forge your path and to get from A to B and C, and maybe at some point you can plug them back into your life the way that you have now.
Exactly. And think about it. My parents had a mentality that wouldn't understand how I think now, so I had to, we're talking about the northeast of Brazil, and being poor in Brazil, which is totally different than being poor in the United States.
Totally.
So like less education, less information, less food, less anything, you know. And I had to go back and invest time, money, effort,
all of it,
to bring my parents to where I am and make them understand where I live today and how I think today. And that's what I'm very proud of, you know, because if I didn't do that, they would end up, you know, dying and not understanding another way of living life and understanding how other people live their life. You know, there was like a small little town with a small mentality where I grew up that a lot of people will die that way, but I was able to bring my parents here and show them where I've been doing in my career, you know, and make them change the way they think about life.
You know, why do you think that it's so hard sometimes because everybody goes through, like I went through this on a certain level because I grew up in an Italian household, parents, you know, the family, the whole bit. They all expect you to get the safe job, live the safe life. I mean, I host a podcast at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So it's like, to them, some people, that's crazy. Like, how do you do that? But, you know, and I sold guns for a living. So, you know, at the end of the day, when I'm at a dinner table and I talk about what I do working for defense companies, it's like, you know, people think I'm like an astronaut. Like, it's crazy to them, like that I would do that. But there's a whole other world that exists, just like MMA, like anything else, that you have to sometimes expose these people to and educate them. And they take a while to come around and take a while to learn. And I'm sure there were a lot of fights growing up and a lot of arguments and a lot of debates. But as they start to see that this is a real thing, and the growth of the UFC has helped tremendously, obviously, because they see that it's a viable entity, it's a real company. It's not, you know, you're fighting for the best organization in the world. I mean, they have, you know, at some point that has to register, you know, and click, and that's what is so hard sometimes. But why is it you think all of our parents in general, have a hard time accepting when you don't choose the normal path?
I think it's a lot of what you said, you know, they want us to be safe, do the safest thing. And imagine, like, the safest thing to my mom was for me to, like, go to school, get a degree, and go get married and have kids and stay here for the rest of your life, you know. And I didn't want to do that. I was like, oh, fuck no. I'm going towards different things and things that will fit my soul, you know. So I feel like it's just they just looking for for safety, you know, and I'm not. I'm not looking for safety when it comes to that.
What was the aha moment for you? Like, you were like, the light bulb went on that, like, you knew you could have a career in fighting. What was the exact? Everybody always remembers that exact point.
I think it was when I made it to the UFC, really. You know, because a lot of people don't know, but I also have a law degree. I like competing jiu-jitsu in a very young age. I remember my father asked me, he was like, I'm here for you for anything, but do me a favor, like study, like do something in the other side, because if fighting doesn't work, then you have a backup plan, you know. So it was tough to train and, you know, like to do all these other things and go to university, you know. It was very, very tough. But I always thought about that backup plan. I was like, if fighting doesn't work, then I have a backup plan, you know. But when I made it to the UFC, it was like, I think that's the way I'm going for the rest of my life, because it's what it's working out, you know. And I was going to make more money, you know. I was fighting for Invicta before the UFC. It wasn't enough money. When I made it to the UFC, it was like, okay, now I'm in. I
can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea of competing against the best in the world is always makes you feel good, right? That's always the best feeling. It's not just there's a lot of other organizations out there, we know, but being able to say I'm competing with the best or the highest level is the best feeling, right? I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. And like, just by making to the UFC, it's a lot of work. and people don't realize, like, when you make it, it's just the beginning. You gotta be more professional, work not harder but it's smarter. Like that's one thing that I always struggled. It's like always working super hard.
And while you were coming up, the women's games evolved so much. Like now, in the beginning, you could be a specialist. You could be like a jiu-jitsu specialist or judo specialist. Now, it's in your time as you've been coming up, you got to have everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. I had to reinvent myself so many times because I was like that. At first, a jiu-jitsu competitor fighting MMA. And then I was like I started getting good with my hands, so it was like now I know some boxing and I know some jiu-jitsu, and I'm gonna go fight. But then how you take people down, so now I gotta learn wrestling. Like I'm really a pioneer in the sport that I had to evolve with the game, and MMA is such a young sport, right? It's like UFC is 26 years old, so I'm 31, and I had to reinvent myself so many times, and it's still to this day, like we see so many fighters and so many things evolving at the sport that I have to keep up with it to be able to compete in the highest level.
Yeah. When you were coming up, was there anyone you looked at that you kind of liked how they did it? It doesn't have to be in UFC. Was there Mike Tyson? Was there anybody that like you watched and you were like, because I mean, when I was younger, when I was a short, fat Italian running around Boston, I used to watch Michael Jordan videos, and I thought I could play basketball, but I learned real quick that wasn't happening.
So funny, because I didn't understand nothing about like weight divisions or like nothing like that. But training jiu-jitsu and thinking about fighting MMA, I used to think about Chris Cyborg. It was like, I remember that was my drive growing up and like trying to motivate myself. I was like, I'm gonna beat that girl. Like in my mind, I wanted to beat Chris Cyborg, and then I realized she was like way bigger than me.
Yeah.
But that was my like my super was my motivation to beat. I didn't want to be like her. I wanted to beat her.
Right.
Growing up.
Yeah, you kind of like put a target on somebody or a goal. We all kind of do that. It inspires you to kind of take it to another level, and everything. When you're going against the best and you're training for the best, everything speeds up, right? And then for some people it slows down. So when you get in the ring, for some people it's like, wow, I can do this. But being in the UFC and being at the level you're at now, in contention, close to contention, fighting for potentially the belt, getting to that point, scratching and clawing, I have to imagine everybody that you go up against, it's do or die, especially at this stage of the game, like you said, with where you're at, age-wise, everything. I mean, you feel the pressure. How do you deal with the pressure of each fight and as it approaches, and how do you prepare yourself mentally?
So I spend a lot of time working on my mental part of the game. I feel like being physically prepared, it's very important. Like, it's a must, right? But being mentally prepared, it's very, very important as well. So you have to find a balance. Like I was saying, my biggest problem was being always overtrained, right? Because I wanted so much. I had so much on my table that I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever I can, and whatever I can was too much, right? I don't know if there is a formula to this, but I know one thing: you can't be in the octagon overtrained, and I've been there so many times, right? And that's the reason why I moved to the U.S. because I was always overtrained. So I feel like spending a lot of time understanding my feelings and thoughts and emotions, it's important for, like, when it comes to the highest level of the game, like I was saying, it's not about being physically prepared. Of course, it's important, but like understanding what's going on in my head and trying to bring me to the present moment, it's one of the most important things. And that's how I deal with those feelings and thoughts. I try to stay present, understand what's going on in the game and in my life to make sure I'm ready physically and mentally to go into a fight.
That's one of the best pieces of advice, or I guess I wouldn't say advice. I would say like things I learned along the way, because there's really no way to give advice on this, is to be present, to be in the moment. Because in life right now, we have so many distractions, right? Like we were talking about this at lunch, like there's cell phones and text messages and people, and everybody's trying to get a piece of you, right? To be present in any moment, even right now, and put the phone away, put the nonsense away, but to be able to do that through a camp, into a fight, is something that I feel makes a huge difference, can set a huge, make a huge drastic percentage jump in your ability to go in the ring or go into whatever it is you're doing in business and life. But to be present, and one of the reasons even I started the show was to be able to have conversations with people that I admire and love and want to spend time with, but be present in the conversation. And I can walk away and I feel like I know those people better than even some of the people that they think are their friends that they text with all day, because I had a face-to-face. Like, when was the last time you had a face-to-face 1 hour conversation with somebody where you didn't look at your phone and you didn't, focus on 900 other things? It's hard, right? You have to think about it.
Yeah, it's very hard, and it's so important, right? Like, that's something that I pay a lot of attention to. Like, walking into here, my phone, it's in airplane mode. I don't want to look at my phone because I want to live that moment here with you, And like you said, like, I'm gonna learn so much about this moment because I'm fully present, right? And a lot of people, they go through their lives and they feel like everything was like automatic because they didn't spend time in the present moment, So there's something I pay a lot of attention to. I always want to feel like I'm grounded. I feel like we spend so much time in the air, in the internet, like doing things that are not very important and very distracting, and that's what takes us away from from our goals. And staying grounded, doing things like that, like talking to somebody face to face, learning about people and having these deep conversations, it's what makes us grow, right? And like the internet and our phones and all this online thing was designed to distract us, right?
Yeah, conversations are like a lost art. Like, I walk away from every show I do and I feel good. Like, I feel good the rest of the day. I'm like, I had this great conversation with Claudia. Like, I feel like I accomplished something. Like, no matter what I do the rest of the day, it's like I go to the gym still at like 4:30 in the morning and everybody thinks I'm crazy because I do that. But it's like nobody can fuck me up at 4:30 in the morning because I'm awake before everybody else. You know what I mean? So no one can take that hour away from me. It's like I own that hour and a half, and I don't allow anybody to steal it from me. So, we're all busy, right? Like, everybody's busy. Everybody has a lot of stuff going on, but to be present, I feel, is one of the most undervalued things, whether it's in performance, in fighting, in everything else, in anything that you do, business. It's just, so you hit the nail on the head when you brought up just being present is so important.
It feels so good, right? Like, I do a lot of that too because I don't want people to fuck with me. So, like, I'm out of Instagram every day from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., and my phone, it's in airplane mode from the time I'm going to bed to the time I wake up. I wake up and sometimes I forget that my phone is in airplane mode, and I get to the gym and I go, oh shit, my phone is in airplane mode, but I'm fully present. I'm living. Those are the best days. I like the day I ended my days happy and present when I'm away from my phone, away from distractions, and like living a life routine.
Yeah. When you want to turn off and not do fighting or be around press or media modeling, anything else that like makes you money, what do you do for fun?
What I do for fun, I like to longboard. I like to read. I spend a lot of time doing that, learning about myself. And this is very challenging, right? Learning about yourself, it's very challenging. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I like to write down plans for the future, for like what I'm going to do after fighting, like I'm in that stage of my life where I'm like thinking about what I'm gonna do next. I like to travel. I love to travel. It's one of my favorite things to do. I feel like you can learn a lot from traveling and from seeing people do different things and living life in a different way. So I like to go away by myself. Like before this quarantine thing, I went on a trip by myself for 10 days, and I visited 4 different countries in 10 days by myself, and it was like one of the best experiences I had in my life. And I like spending time with myself, like learning about myself.
Some people say everybody should go on a vacation by themselves. Some people say that. Like, that's a theory that's out there. Like, somebody, you should go away, or you should do like visit countries or travel alone. You learn a lot about yourself. I've heard people talk about that. I mean, I've done it like in business. You know what I mean? Like, you go away and you just spend some time, but you're never really a tourist. You're kind of always working. I guess I should do one of those like 4-country and 10-day deals like you did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like I went to Israel with friends, and then when we got there, I was like, dude, I feel like going somewhere else. You guys want to go? And they were like, no. I was like, all right, I'm out of here. So I went and I took a airplane to Greece, Mykonos, and then from Mykonos I went to Athens. From Athens I went to Paris, London. Like 10 days.
You picked some ugly places.
No, they're not ugly. It was nice. I had dinner at the how you call that tower? The
Eiffel Tower.
Like, it was a very romantic place, but I had it by myself.
Table
like,
for one. We talked about the table for one.
Yeah. It's just like beautiful experiences that I had by myself that I'll never forget.
Do you feel like when you do them by yourself, do you feel like you should have somebody else there? Like, you need like an assistant? Like, you feel like you should pull somebody along for the journey because you don't want to be by yourself? Does that ever kick in?
No, I was enjoying being by myself. I was like, I will wake up anytime I want. I will do whatever the fuck I want, and nobody is here. Like, it felt good. I would do it again.
Now, on that line, you must intimidate the shit out of people. How does it work when you try to like go out on a date, meet someone? How does this work?
So,
like, do you have to go up to them and be like, so what are you doing tonight? Like, how does that work?
So like, I'm a very deep person, right? I know a lot about myself, so I don't just go on dates, like I have to.
You just club them over the head and take them home.
I have to know the people I'm hanging out with very well to be able to have something deeper with them, because I know a lot about myself and I know what I want, and it's very hard to find people that are in the same, like, have the same mentality and have the same thoughts and the same plans for life. So I'm just taking my time, not meeting people, just like spending time on myself.
I can't imagine like you ever being with a beta or someone that's like subpar, in anything, because you're so aggressive and you have like such an attack mentality, which is a good thing, right? Which is a great thing. I God save the guy if he's not, a killer in life. God save him, or the gal. God save either one of them. They have to want to go out and get it. But then again, people surprise me. It always shocks me who they end up with and how it circles back.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I don't end up with somebody like me, I'm gonna end up by myself.
Right.
Because, like, I'm very motivated and I have a driving life. If I'm not with somebody that is has the same mentality, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard with somebody like yourself, especially with that type of attitude. And I've had similar conversations with so many different fighters and so many different people that are successful in different genres. But that's why when you look at a lot of these people, they're divorced a bunch of times, like they've been through, you know what I mean? Because they either have like this mentality that they want to change people, or like they're gonna get someone that's gonna like mold into what they envision them to be. But the reality is, when you know where you're going and no one else does, it's hard to get somebody on that train that can stay with you.
Exactly, yeah.
Because the speed, the tempo, sometimes for some people, the lights get a little too bright, the stage gets a little too big, and it all moves a little too fast.
Yeah, I feel that way, and like I said, like I want somebody to have the same drive, the same mentality, and like I feel like for a relationship to work, both people has to be successful in life, know what they want, and they just looking for somebody to share happiness with.
Well, for you, there's a lot of crackheads that are happy in the trailers too, but for you, yeah. But that's a good thing.
Yes, it's a great thing. And I don't mind being by myself, I don't mind being single. I feel like I'm a very young, successful athlete girl, and I'm excited for what life has for me. I'm not really looking for somebody to make me happy.
Yeah, no one should make you. No one should make the man or the woman. The woman or the man should make themselves, and then along the way, if somebody comes along for that ride, that's the best kind of relationship to have. But it's not easy. You can't pull them along. It's kind of like you just got to go and do your thing, and if it happens, great.
If it doesn't happen, it's okay too.
It's okay too. Now, maybe it's 3 years from now, maybe it's 5 years from now. The UFC, you move on. What's the next step?
Okay, so this is interesting. So I've been fighting my
whole life.
Like half of my life, right? And I love the lifestyle. I work super, super hard, but I feel like I never worked a day in my life. I'm like, I wake up every day, I have a healthy meal, healthy breakfast, and I go work out. I go do something that I love, taking care of my body, and also getting my body ready to do something that it's super cool. For me, it's super cool. So I love the lifestyle. I love being free, being able to do whatever I want, being financially free and spiritually free. And I'm a very happy young woman, So I don't want to be one of those fighters that fights until they 40 years old and then they retire and they never find happiness. There's a lot of that. Like, there's female fighters at like 38, 40 years old today that, it's okay if they love fighting and if they want to fight until they're 40, it's okay, but it's not something that I want to do because I feel like there's phases in life, right? And being an athlete, it's good. You can enjoy a good amount of your life doing that, but I don't want to break my body for the rest of my life, And even though I don't know if I'm gonna get married, I want to have kids. I want to have 2 kids, and I want to show my kids a different way of living, like different of what I was raised, like different than what my mom tried to do to me. So, I love the entrepreneur lifestyle, like doing a lot of different things. I love business. I invest in stocks, real estate. I do a lot of things outside of fighting already, and I feel like this is what I'm going to do when I retire, when I stop fighting. I'm going to do business, invest my money in good things and smart things. I'm not wasting my money. I'm not one of those fighters that fight, they get the money, and they live life with the money, and then they go fight again to get more money. I never done that. I always saved my money. I always tried to be smart with my money. And now I'm at a point where I can invest my money and just go enjoy life.
And there's seasons for everything. Just life's about seasons, and you have to embrace the season you're in, and there's a time for fighting, and that's what's you're doing now. But as time goes on, the next season will present itself, whatever that may be, I'm sure, and I'm sure whatever it is, you'll crush it because you just have that mentality. You'll attack it and you'll go after it. But I have to imagine it's it's always there on the horizon, right? Like, you have to think about what that next step is, because like you said, too many, especially in the fight game, it's something with the fight game, in athletes, they never think beyond. It's always, like you said, the next paycheck. and I know all the coaches. I could speak for every coach, including the one here. They're always trying to put a bug in their guys' heads or gals' heads, like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what's next? Like, what about after this? And it's a hard balance, of being able to think with the end in mind, always.
Yeah, but I feel like you said, it's seasons. And when you get ready for the next season,
you go buy the clothes.
It's easier, right? Because you see a lot of fighters, a lot of athletes getting depressed because they find out they have to retire tomorrow because they never thought about tomorrow. So I do think about tomorrow, and I'm planning my tomorrow, and I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure this is going to make it easier for my mind, for my body, because when the day comes, I wake up tomorrow and I don't have to go train to get better, to go compete in the highest level, but I still have the same drive. I got to find something that it's going to give me the same feeling. And I'll find it. I'm pretty sure I'll find it.
Now, I have a theory. I want you to tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like women in your position and women in UFC that come from the fight game, that are pioneers, like you said, that are kind of forging this path in fighting and self-defense, I feel like, because men instinctually have this defense mechanism. They want to defend themselves, their family, everything that they do. I feel like women in your position owe it to other women to give something back, to educate them on why being able to defend yourself is important. Do you feel that at all? Or not at all?
You mean to other women?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would say yes. One of my biggest pleasures is to be able to help people in general, not only women, but I'm very happy when I'm able to help women. I feel like society tells us the way we should live life, and sometimes it's not the way you find your happiness, and a lot of women tries to follow a pattern that it's not good for them, but it's what society told them to do. So, and I don't do what society told me to do, and it always makes me happy to see a woman going in the same way, finding happiness, but not in the way society told her to go live her life.
Yeah, it's so hard because the pressure on women to fall into the norm is so great all the time. I feel like it's a little bit more accepted, for a guy, but if a woman breaks that code or breaks that trend, everybody's like, well, what the hell are you doing? Why would you do that? Especially in fight. It's more pronounced in fighting because it's like, what do you mean you want to get punched in the face? Like, you're this beautiful girl. What do you mean you want to get punched in the face? And everybody's kind of like, thinks that that's crazy, right? Like, it's like, you got to be out of your mind. But you have to embrace it, and at the same time, that's why I feel like explaining, like, hey, this is something that I enjoy, and passing that on, what you just said, passing that on to the next person, being like, it's okay to want to do something that your mom and dad didn't say was okay. It's okay to want to push into an area that maybe no one's pushed into. It's okay to want to be that person. Like, I can't think of areas that really women haven't pushed into yet, but especially in fighting, it's more pronounced because there's still that little bit of a cloud over it. That why would you want to go do that?
Yeah, and I get that a lot. So many people every day on my Instagram, on my Twitter, even face to face, people ask me why do you fight? Why don't you get you should go do something else? And who are you to tell me what I should go do? I love what I do, and I can't it's okay for me to look like this, people say I'm a good-looking girl, right? So I'm a good-looking girl, but this is not what makes me go do things in life. I could have used my beauty and my personality to go do so many other things in life, but that's not what feeds my soul. So I don't really pay attention to how I look. I want to see how I feel. I pay attention to how I feel, and fighting makes me feel fucking amazing.
That's why I think, what I was getting at is that's why I think people like you've done this. Rose just recently did it. Namajunas just did this. You guys all post a picture the next day, and your face looks like fucking hamburger. And I think you do it on purpose. It's like, I'm okay. I like this.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, people freak out. Oh,
look at you.
Yeah, I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, what really matters is what I got from the fight, from the camp. Like, how much I grew as a fighter, as a person, as a daughter, as a friend. Like, fighting makes me better.
Because you don't see a lot of guys do that. Like, a lot of guys that, like, here's the picture. It's like a black eye, 2 teeth missing. Because guys have this, like, ego thing. Like, my dick's this big, and I don't take the beating, but women will post the picture, right? And they'll have like a black, like Rose's eye was like out to here, her head, and just people will put the picture out there. And you've done it too, where it's like, I saw one and you're like all beat to shit. And then people are like, oh my God, why would you do that to yourself? But I think women do it on purpose.
I would believe in that theory. I never thought about I never thought about that theory, but now that you're talking about it, it makes sense. Like, I posted a picture so many times on my Instagram and in my stories of me, like, all bloody. And like,
I think you all get off on it.
I feel good.
Yeah, I think you all get off on it. And I think that's a good thing because you're showing other women, like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I can take the beating.
Yeah, yeah. You're right on that.
I think that's like a subliminal, under the radar thing that nobody really thinks about, because why else would you'll never, I'm not going to pull Coach into this, but he's shaking his head. You would never see a guy do that. Rarely. It's very rare that you see a guy do it.
That's true. Yeah, now that you're talking about it,
Well,
it
yeah.
makes sense. And
I put your mic on, Coach. I mean, it's you never see, just from a guy's perspective, guy to guy, you never see a guy do it.
Yeah, no. If I get beat up, I'm gonna go hide my face and reflect.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna like post like this picture, like. So that's my theory. I mean, some guys do it. Like, yeah, if it's like, yeah, I took the beating and I won. If you won, but most of the time, like, you won't see. Women love it.
it looks good, no?
I mean, for me, it's not a looks good thing. For me, it's more. I grew up with 2 sisters, so similar to you, I was raised by women. So I am always happy to see, like, I believe, like, if women want equal treatment, like, yeah, put that out there. Be like, yeah, I'm a tough fucking bitch. Like, what's up? Like, and I think that's part of breaking that wall down. So I get the mental behind it, but the next day, like always with those women fights, they go viral. Those pictures of like them, just like they get their head pounded in, and they love it.
Yeah, I feel like there is almost a fetish thing about this. Like, I don't know what.
Well, we'll get to that stuff.
I don't know what guys think about women fighting, but there is something in there, and I really wish I knew what it was.
I don't know. I don't have that fetish.
I think it shows a different layer of durability too. To say, yeah, I'm feminine, but I can do this.
I can take the beating.
And I can turn right around. I can still go take care of my house and my groceries and live my life and whatever, sort of a deeper version of rolling with the punches per se, which a lot of people can't. Like, I mean, what they do in there is a special thing. It's a very almost like ancient primal instinct that they're able to dig into, and then to just show that little canvas of what it looks like in the aftermath. I think it's kind of a trophy piece.
I think aggression in women is a fetish. I don't think necessarily, well, maybe to some guys. I mean, people are into weird shit, like, but I think aggression in women is more of a common fetish probably amongst men. Like, they like to see like an aggressive,
it's funny because I talk to female fighters about this, and like, you think that, right? But then guys shy away from them. They don't want to. They get intimidated. Now it's cool to look at from afar and to see a picture of them when they get in front of her and want to talk to her.
Yeah, their assholes pucker. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's you got to have a deep appreciation for all the process that goes into that, not just that.
I never felt that way. My profession's a little different. You guys fight. My profession's a little more terminal. I mean,
My wife's a weightlifter. Like, the thing that used to get me fired up more than anything is watching her go after American records. Like, watch a 58-kilo woman put 120 kilos over her head. You're like, that's amazing. I want her to mother my children. Let's go. Like,
yeah.
But you have to be interested in that, and not just that. That's the finale. The whole process leading into it. They spend hours and hours at the gym training. They sacrifice every waking bit of extra energy that they have, trying to hone those skills and trying to be that savage that we then admire that final product when they're standing there with their face all bloody.
Yeah, and they display it.
Yeah.
I think we uncovered something.
Yeah, but like not we talking to a guy that is being vulnerable right now, right? Which is really hard. Like, I feel like, so Bo is my strength and conditioning coach, right? A guy that I love to be around because I feel like he balanced very well his masculine and feminine energy, right? I'm sorry, Bo. If
secure in his man.
Bad,
we prefer as men we prefer to say secure in our manhood.
To me, it's so fucking sexy to watch a guy being vulnerable, and like talking about a girl like that. It's not every man, because I feel like every man wants a strong woman until they have it, and they don't know how to act. They don't know how to think, And Bo just spoke for himself and his wife, and I feel like this is what a lot of women are looking for, guys that can be vulnerable, can balance well their masculine and feminine energy, and they still be a fucking man.
I think it comes down to being secure in your manhood. I think it's like understanding where the pieces fit. And it's just a theory. I mean, having been around the sports and the things that I've been around, I've been around some alpha motherfuckers. It's some insanely alpha people. It's, in my line of work, everybody's got to have the biggest, what, everybody's this, everybody's that, everybody's somebody, just ask them. That's what I always say. So to curve that, and like you're saying, and to be able to set that aside is when you can actually have a conversation with somebody, which is kind of what you're getting at, and be able to like accept people, the good, the bad, and the ugly, be able to understand them. And that's a fucking hard trait. You're onto something. That's a hard thing for men. And it's hard for some women too. I mean, I think some women, you know what I mean? I think some women try so hard to be alpha. You don't do that, which is what I dig about you. You don't go out of your way to be alpha. You are an alpha. You give it off, but at the same time, I've never felt in the 4 conversations we've had that I've ever felt like, wow, she's like trying to be this like, yeah, this bad bitch, like fuck everybody. You're willing to curve that, and that's hard to do. It is hard to do because people are fucking rockheads in general.
It's funny how that bleeds over into all aspects of life.
100%.
You look at parenting.
Oh my God.
Look at running a business, trying to mentor other people underneath you. It's very difficult to do that if your mindset is constantly on your insecurities and like, how do I need to shine? What do I need? It's tough to mentor someone and to put someone in a level where they can be successful if that's all you're worried about. It's tough
100%.
to be a contributing husband, not just a husband that shows up for dinner every night and is looking for his laundry to be folded every night, but to be a contributor to the household. If I don't have my shit under control and I'm secure, it's tough to be a dad when it's time to tighten the reins or loosen the reins or whatever if I don't have all my own shit together.
I think we're onto something. I think because the fear is like you don't want to open up and give that inch because you're worried about what will be said after. Like, oh, Bo, you're a fucking pussy. You're rooting for your wife to lift weights. Like she should be in the kitchen.
What better way to lose your integrity or to lose an athlete's faith in you than to display how fucked up my life is. Like, oh, you know what? I'm getting a divorce because I cheated on my wife, or, I got my kid at school. I didn't pick him up that day, and, so we had to call someone to go pick him. They don't want to hear that shit. They want to hear that you got your shit together, because the stuff that I'm trying to get them to do is way outside their comfort zone. And if we're going to do that consistently on a very longitudinal timeline leading up to one of the biggest moments of their life when they get locked in that cage, they got to have faith in me as a person that I'm going to be there when they need me to be. I'm going to be reliable. The information is going to be bespoke. the quality of what they're getting is going to be bespoke. So to me, it just carries over into every aspect of life. I mean, everything that you do, if you've got your personal shit taken care of and you're able to be, whether you're an alpha or whether you're more of a supportive role or whatever the case may be, if you have your stuff together, you can do that tenfold better.
You know, I want to ask you because Jay Cutler, the bodybuilder, is a friend of mine. He said this. This was always one of his famous lines. He's like, people call me with their problems, I just hang up on them. I can't be bothered with people's shit. And this kind of speaks into this. Like, do you block out distractions in that way? Like, do you just like, if someone becomes, like, how do you fit someone into your circle and how do you eliminate them?
So I try to keep my cycle very small, right? I want people with that mentality in my life, you know, people that I know they are gonna be there for me, you know, and it's not gonna be for the rest of my life, but for right now where I need to compete in the highest level, I need badass motherfuckers around me. And that's what I am looking for. If there's other people trying to get into my life and I feel like they're not going to help me or they're not going to add anything to my life, I have nothing to do with them. You know, I keep my cycle very small.
How do you pick who's in it?
People that have the same mentality I do, people that have a drive, people that are motivated, people that want to do great things in life and be vulnerable and deep enough, you know, people that understand about the emotions, thoughts, and feelings and are able to do great things in life.
So hard. It's so hard to do. It sounds good.
It is. It is.
It's hard to be selective with your empathy too, you know? Like what she's saying, like, you know, she's got to be critical so that everyone that's in that circle is bringing things to the table. But it's hard to not be empathetic when someone's going through
I've told you my criteria. Mine's simple. You got to be a bridge builder. The minute I think you're a bridge burner, can't do it.
Yeah.
You're going on an island. It's lonely on that island. Can't be on that island with you. You got to be willing to build bridges. There's a time and a place to burn some bridges to cinders, but you got to be prepared to do it. And it's chess, not checkers. But you got to be building bridges. The minute I get like when people come around you and they're like, oh, you know, I hate this one. They're no fucking good. I hate that. I was like, who do you like? Like, you know, it's like the people that are like, kind of like they suck the fucking energy. They're energy leeches. Yep. They suck the energy from you.
I've echoed throughout my whole career. Your mentality
kills careers.
Be an energy giver, not an energy taker. You know, give. The other burn in the bridge thing I try to think of, too, is like I don't want to burn anything in front, and I don't want to burn anything to the side. Stuff gets behind me, all right.
So, yeah, there's a time and a place where sometimes you got to be like.
If you're in the front and you make your way to the side, I've also got enough forgiveness in me at some point that you can make your way back up front. Yeah. Those are all critical decisions, right? I think you laced it up just like that because those could be people that at the time, maybe they're not generating any positive energy. They're not helping with the mission at hand, but they may be significant 10 years down the road. They may be extremely influential 5 or 10 years down the road. So you definitely don't want to go just around just torching everything and potentially limiting opportunities in the future.
No, and I think when we say burn them, it's kind of like you gotta. There's a way, like you just gotta shut it down. You know, just kind of you have to move on, like you said, behind you.
I think too is you want to have a short memory so you can move on from things, right? But a memory, so it's like, yeah, you know, you fucked me up that time. I'm not taking it to heart to where I'm just icing you and you're out, but I remember. It's
forgive, don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. It's back there. It's in the vault. So if it ever rears its ugly head again, then. Yeah, maybe that bridge needs to get burnt.
So here's the $1 million question. When does the title shot come, and how important is it to you?
So,
is it just out there, or is it like something that you absolutely need, you feel you need?
If I didn't feel I needed, I would have retired already. You know, because like I said, I have plans, and I'm getting ready for the next season of my life, but I want that title. It means something to me. It's like the last thing I want to get before I retired, you know. And that was my drive since day one, right? I stayed as #1 contender for 10 years. Like before being in the UFC, I was like the #1 chick out there, and always like reinventing myself and trying to find a way to compete in the highest level and beat the baddest chicks in the world. And like the level, I feel like the level, it's just like it keeps rising, right? It keeps getting better. We're seeing like the strawweight champion from China, like the girl came from nowhere. I would go like, whoa, like, you know, like I wasn't expecting that big picture that fast, right? That's why I moved here. That's why I'm trying to reinvent myself and find new ways to get better and to compete with these girls, you know. And that's my motivation. That's my drive every day. I want to fight for that title. You know, I'm #5 in the world right now, and it's not far.
I feel like, you know, I said this to someone when you were coming on. I feel like you're one of those fighters that's like you're lurking in the weeds right now. You're kind of like you're lurking out there, and when the moment comes, I think you're going to get it, and I think you're going to seize it. It's just that you're at that point where it's almost like you have to not even want it to happen, but when it does, seize it. You know, kind of just float in the shadows, and that's kind of how I feel. You know, the women's division is interesting in the UFC because it's been dominated by 2 out of 3 players for the most part, right? And now you have this third player that you brought up, Willie Zhang, the champion now, and people say like how badass she is, all that shit, and that's true. But you know, you have Amanda, Valentina, and we've never seen like the women's divisions kind of locked up the way that they are for a while. It hasn't been this way in a while. They seem pretty locked up, but I feel like you're lurking in the weeds, and any moment you're going to get your chance. And when you do, I think everybody that listens to this anyway is going to be rooting for you for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, the skill is right there. Like, I train every day. I train with guys my size, and
timing's everything.
The skill is there. You know, like the strength is there. Like the cardio is there. Like, I feel like the hardest thing is to find a balance between being mentally prepared and physically prepared. And that's where I am trying to find my balance now.
Oh, it'll come. It's coming.
Yes.
And the other $1 million question we have to ask you is, what's the creepiest message you've ever got?
Oh,
how do these creepers, men and female, slide into the DM, and how weird has it gotten?
Okay. So it's funny because I get a lot of girls hating on me on Instagram. Like, maybe 50-50. You know, I don't know what happens, but like,
chicks hate other
girls,
chicks. That's a fact. I mean,
straight girls
cats
like,
are cats.
wow.
Yeah, women are awful.
Sometimes I'm working out with Bo. I go like, Bo, what's going on? Like, look at this chick. Like, I don't understand.
Before you get into it, if a guy hates another guy, like if I hate Bo, I'll say, fuck him. Like, that's like the extent of it, right? Fuck him. Women go into like a story. It's a whole thing. It'll be like, you a bitch because of this, this, and this. And I heard from Susie's friend Sammy that you said that, like, there's a whole backstory. And it's like, I don't know where women get the bandwidth to fight like that. If it's Bo, am I lying? If it's a guy, I'd be like, fuck him. Fuck Bo. Fuck Bo Sandoval. Like, fuck him.
Physically and mentally, women have always had better endurance.
Way better. Like, women got I'm sure those DMs are 3 pages long.
Yes. But let's say this whole fit freak thing. It's
the
so
foot
weird.
fetish thing.
It's so weird.
Wiki feet, it's called.
It's so weird. I didn't realize I have a website page like Claudia Gadelha's feet pictures. I go like, what? Is that a thing? Like, my friend showed me the other day. There's so many pictures of my feet on the internet that I didn't realize, and my feet are fucking ugly. Like, I don't get it. So I get a lot of that, a lot of fit fetish.
Dirty clothes.
Yes. People asking like to buy my socks.
And I told you what to do with that. We talked about this.
I just don't understand, but sometimes I feel like doing it. I go like, okay, I'm gonna get those.
That's the one thing I think women are missing out on, because we get that a lot on this show. Like, women always say, you know, they want my clothes. I'm like, so on your website, put a page, make a menu, like you go to a restaurant. dirty socks, dirty sweatshirt. I mean, like, the bras and underwear, I can understand. Like, all right, I don't want to, like... But, like, if you donate it all to charity, no one would flinch. Would you think that's weird? Bo, would you... I mean, I'd be like...
You make 10 grand off your dirty apparel, and you put it into your best charity.
Yeah.
That's...
I'm telling you, the first woman that does that, they're going viral. I'm serious. The first woman that creates a menu like, buy Claudia's dirty clothes. And you get all the creepers that go in and they buy, like, your dirty sweat socks.
Yeah, I mean, some of these fans, they want the tape off their hands.
If you did it, those fafalas in fucking Brazil, they'd be mansions. You donate it to, like because you'll get all the weirdos that'll come out.
That's true.
How about this? Bo and I will start the page. We want 10%. We'll be rich. We'll be living in a mansion. Fuck this UFC shit. Fuck it. Bo, the hell with this training shit. We're going to run her clothing page.
But I'll tell you, it's something that I never told anyone. Right here. I sold a sports bra that I wore in a fight, like a fight-worn sports bra.
Right, fight-worn clothes.
For $10,000 to a fan.
Dirty.
Doesn't shock me.
Dirty.
Yeah, but that doesn't, you know.
Like the UFC would sell it for like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
I sold it for $10,000. And I was like, wow.
Some fucking
like, this guy's
Egyptian prince somewhere that like goes home and strangles himself with it and touches himself.
On a Claudia Gadelha mannequin in some.
Oh my god! Like blow up doll, weirdo shit.
That's a lot of money for a sports bra.
Covered in jello. I think you're the greatest, but I wouldn't fucking buy that. You're gonna be out of your mind. 10,000 for dirty clothes. Fuck. But I think you're missing the mark. I think you could do a page on your website and donate to charity. And if you did that, I think that's just smart. Bo and I'll run it unofficially. I'm telling you. But these guys slide in the DM and gals, and I'm sure they get, they're wackadoodles, and they send you all this weirdo shit. Has there ever been a time where you're like, I'm scared, like somebody says some really weird shit that you check out?
Not really. I just think it's so weird, but not scared.
All right, good.
Doesn't scare me out.
Because that's I do not, and to anyone that's got daughters out there, I do not envy women today with social media.
No.
Because guys be crazy. Guys be crazy. They be sliding in there saying crazy stuff and sending crazy stuff and buying $10,000 sports bras.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
I think someone was looking out for me when I had no girls.
I'm telling you, blessed.
And, yeah, I can't imagine.
Blessed. Because they be sliding in there with no fear. None. Now, if somebody does slide in there appropriately, do you ever answer anybody? And has anyone ever like shocked that you answer? Oh my God!
No, I don't answer DMs really.
Don't instigate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a waste of time. I don't know what they thinking. I just think it's pretty damn crazy.
There was a time where it affected you. It affects everyone at some point, but you learn to shut it off. Like after a while, you become desensitized. You're kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, I don't pay attention for that. It's like
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this was amazing.
Thank you.
I hope you feel comfortable, and I hope you feel like doing more of these, because I'm sure after this, people are going to call.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. I like to have those deep
conversations, deep thoughts. So, listen, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can reach out to you, and anything that you're plugging.
So I'm on Instagram, Claudia Gadelha. I'm on Twitter, same thing. If you Google me, Claudia Gadelha, you're gonna find me in every social media platform. I just really use Instagram and Twitter now.
What about TikTok? You think it's a thing?
I don't know a lot about TikTok.
You got like one thing on there, because I do research in every guest to see, like, there's some people that are like TikTok phenoms. For some reason, I thought you'd be there. Like, I thought you'd be like doing like a fucking weird cartwheel in the gym or something, and there wasn't much.
Yeah, I posted something like a couple months ago, but it's not really my thing yet.
Seems like a lot of work.
Snapchat.
Yeah,
Snapchat's one I never did.
Yeah.
I never did Snapchat.
Right, like to keep track of all these things. It's
too much shit.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
Like here's Snapchat. Like what am I, a 14-year-old girl? Like here's me. Like Bo, if I ever hit you up with like a premium Snap or something, like punch me in the face. Yeah. Like here's me on my Snap. Like yo man, check out my lunch.
The picture expired. I can't see it anymore. Where is it?
It's so stupid. I don't know how Snapchat ever became a thing. That blows my fucking mind. Anyway, listen, this was amazing.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
I thank you. That was amazing.
I appreciate you. So, listen, I want to thank everyone. Thank the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Thank Blackwater Ammunition, Gallo Technologies, Rhino Metals, and, of course, Galco holsters and their fanny packs. Go check them out. I appreciate everyone. Please leave a review. I do a terrible job asking for reviews, and all the links will be down below, including where to slide into the DM appropriately for Claudia. I appreciate everybody. And we'll get that clothing menu out to everyone soon. I appreciate everyone, and thank you. We're out.